Mark, I think one of the things that we would say is that we are trying our best to be a solidarity for human rights. And while we're not trying to alienate, we're trying to speak truth with power. And the truth is what we are hoping will be the joining factor. That is that if the truth tends to be uncomfortable, then that is not our mission to make anyone uncomfortable. But we do, in fact, want to be able to speak the truth to that issue with a bit of power, of conviction of what we really believe.
I think the other piece of that is that we saw the boycott and divestiture and sanction movement work very well in South Africa, and that we felt that that is a parallel that is appropriate here, particularly since the UN has given us a definition of apartheid, and it clearly looks like that there is apartheid being practiced in Israel, that this kind of a boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement is appropriate and would more quickly, we believe, hasten the falling of those oppressive forces and the ending to the occupation. This is going to sound perhaps a little harsh, but as we talk among ourselves, we understand that there will be sacrifices that must be made, and sometimes those sacrifices are really uncomfortable and very difficult for people, but we believe the cost of freedom is certainly worthy of those sacrifices, and many of us have walked those sacrifices in our own journey. And as we talk with the Palestinians and Israelis about this while we were there, we were amazed to see how many of them were saying, we understand sacrifice. And we know, this was remarkable, we understand that sacrifices we needed, that we will need to make sacrifices, and we are prepared to make the sacrifices. So it's a hard place, but we believe it's the right space to stand in.
One is, as far as the black church is concerned, there has been a concerted effort by other than the black church to show us only one side. The reason that we have this inaugural trip to Palestine is because we believe that once you've actually seen, you can never unsee. And so we have to raise money and mission group and some other things to try to help some African Americans to go over. Now, we believe that it doesn't take an African American 2 weeks. We believe if they stay there now, they're ready to come back home, because they would automatically know that, oh, I've seen this before, I understand this. I hope that speaks to that part.
The black church is probably not even aware of the specifics of the level of oppression that's going on among the Palestinian people from the Israeli community. So if you don't know, then you don't know. So what we've done, we've actually become apostles in the term that we are eyewitnesses. So if the black church, anyone who have been oppressed, especially black people, as you know, from the civil rights movement, if they were to see with their own eyes, then that itself can help change their minds. But if you don't know, then you don't know. So I think they more so the black church doesn't know the specifics about what's going on in Israel Palestine. The black church is just involved in just preaching, teaching, having church, you know, and so they don't know that would make a difference. If delegations start going over there, you probably will see a change of vision with the black church.
And I'm going to ask, we did have Muslim representation on our trip, and I'm going to ask Carl, would you like to speak from the Muslim side?
I think more than a Muslim side, it's a human side, and this is a point that we heard over and over and over again. What's going on over there is not an Israeli-Palestinian problem. It's a problem of humanity. It's a problem of dignity. And it's a problem of equal rights for all. So I really can't speak as a Muslim. I can speak as a human.
And I appreciate that. Let me just take a stab at this. I am a preacher, all right? from a long line of preachers in the black church. So part of the problem is we have a theology that doesn't support us believing in the Palestinian cause. The theology itself must be reframed, refocused, reinterpreted. And we are very pleased that we had some good teachings around that while we were there. And I see as part of my personal mission to reframe, refocus, and reinterpret the gospel, a gospel that excludes others, and a gospel around a theology of land that says this land is for white people. We must embrace the theology that says the land belongs to all people are equally important in the land and have access to the land. So I believe that's a huge challenge for us. It is fundamentally, I think, what holds the black church in the crutches of not understanding this truth. But just as we were able to overcome slavery, because the Bible certainly supports slavery, then we must find a way to reframe the conversation around the Israeli and Palestinian discussion. And I think that we've got some great material to do that. I'm very excited about some of the theology that we will bring back and share. But it is a long journey because there are forces beyond our control who are desperately influencing the black church and the leaders of the black church. With respect to the politics, we are all equally, I think, impacted by the tremendous will and forces of AIPAC. We understand those forces very well, but I think that it's time now for us to break down some barriers and find some coalitions and some alliances with people that we may not ordinarily feel like we can align with, and that's our task. How do we break out our own safe modes of who we're connected to and build bigger circles and bigger ways to break down barriers that allow us to, as an example with Code Pink, form some bridges and alliances where we can work together. So I think that's the challenge. And privately, I think the congresspersons, staffers, and members, I think when you talk to them like one-on-one, this is just my own assessment, they understand the issue. And they will need a constituency, as everything is true. They need a constituency to help them move. And until our constituency is big, powerful, and mad enough to stand up and declare what is simple truth. The truth is that Palestinians are being oppressed. The truth is it's against all international laws and UN resolutions. We all know that. But unless there's a constituency, unless we break down some of the things that keep us separate from one another, then we will have this conversation next year. I hope not, but we may very well do so.
I'd like to add to that there's one little dimension that I don't want to be overlooked. In Egypt, a virus broke out in Egypt of the people revolting and saying, we're not waiting for permission. Enough is enough. And that virus spread to other parts in other regions. And if we're not very mindful of that, then we are susceptible to that same virus. So that I think that our movement, we hope that legislature will help with some of the movement, but we also, whether there has to be some grassroots formatting, because Israel sponsors trips for the black church that very discreetly goes around the issue, and they never get a chance to even see. That's why missions like Interfaith Peace Builders, we had an opportunity to be right in the midst of, so that we could see some things. And, that's wonderful. But we don't want to take away from the power of the people as well. So. Actually,
I don't think the Palestinians will let us take their power. They are pretty resolved in their spirit, which is one of the things I was so excited to see. The last time I was there was 2007 or 8, and was very distraught by their spirit. But coming back this time and seeing their resolution to stand at all costs, to have a homeland, to be the definers of their own destiny was remarkable and very encouraging.